Hey guys, I'm back, Pyjack, with the second Pyvlog. So, what I'm going to talk about today is a question I get asked a surprisingly large amount on my stream, and that is how do I get better at League of Legends? And it's actually, I mean, there's a lot of people have a ton of different views on it, and really the biggest view is play more and get better, and that's the really easy answer. Or the question, or people just say just farm and take objectives. And there's really a lot to getting better, and really, in my opinion, it all comes down to how serious you want to be about getting better. Um, the best way to put this is mechanics. Everybody talks about how you can have mechanics, and if you have really strong base mechanics, then you can pick up almost any champion and be halfway decent. And that's true to some extent. Knowing mechanics is a very important part of being good at League of Legends. Like you want to know the champion that you're playing. That's, in my opinion, one of the most important parts. But what goes hand in hand with that is knowing just the basic, especially laning mechanics, because a lot of like lower elo games are lost at in the laning phase. Well, they're not lost, but they're heavily impacted in the laning phase. And people end up with a lot of like they'll go 0 and 7 in lane and be like, "Oh man, I don't know what happened." And it comes down to mechanics, man. Like you want to farm, as best as you can. There's it's just lane dynamics really. Like you want to know when to farm, you want to know when to trade. You want to have map awareness, so you know when your jungler's close to when it's time to make a play. Um, there's really there's no super easy way to explain it. The best thing that you can do is farm, honestly, especially if you're like losing a lane. Learning how to lose a lane is just as important as learning how to win a lane. You can't just sit in lane, feed 7 kills, get 0 farm, and then wonder why the Kha'Zix that you just fed is just destroying the entire battlefield, guys. Really, um, you want to be able to lose a lane gracefully. If you feed more than 2 kills in lane, you really messed up. You've really negatively impacted the game. And so learning how to lose gracefully, as well as how to farm, how to duel, what lane you want to play, knowing the lanes to play, knowing having a champion pool is a really big thing. Like I think you should have at least like 3 champions per position, and that's probably one of the best ways to kind of advance yourself is to have 3 champions per position that you can play. And that, I mean, some people take different things on that. Like some people will play Elise top, middle, support, and jungle. She can play every role. She's not the best in every one of those roles, but she can play 4 out of 5 roles pretty effectively. And that's really what I have to say about mechanics. Is really champion pool, farming, objective control. Um, Trying to make less mistakes and capitalizing on the mistakes that your laning opponent is making. That's a really big one that people don't do. Um, let's see. I actually had to take notes because this is a pretty big subject, and I'm trying to like narrow it down. Um, those are the basic things that people just need to learn, and a lot of that's really gained through playing or practicing. Like if you go into a custom game by yourself and just practice how to last hit with somebody who's freaking terrible at last hitting, like Vlad or a Nivea or LeBlanc, they're terrible at last hitting, man. They start with almost no AD. If you can hit every one of those for the first, I don't know, 6 or 7 waves, then you're going to be pretty decent at farming. And then when you get good at farming, then you kind of practice lane pressures. So go and practice with a friend and have them harass you while you're farming. Have both of you practice farming and harassing at the same time. That's really all you can do is just play or practice. And playing is practicing pretty much if you're trying to get better. Um, Another way to not necessarily get better, but to, well, I mean, it does get you better because it moves you up in elo and gives you a new challenging pool of people to play against. Um, Learn how to carry. Like, it really sucks that some people can get so low into a game that they actually have to learn how to carry and they have to go like 15-0 to beat a game. But if you're going 15-0 to beat a game, then you're deserving to move up in your rank. Like, let's be real here. Um, and there's a lot that goes into learning how to carry. It's not just having skill with a specific champion necessarily. It could just be the OPs. Like Kha'Zix is considered OP right now, but Kha'Zix is also just he's a reset assassin. He can blow up people in 3 moves, like no big deal. He's a one rotate, or he can be a one rotation assassin depending on how fed he gets. And if you have somebody just jumping around resetting like that, they're gonna start dominating the battlefield. That's just that's why he's considered OP right now. He does have ridiculously good AP or AD ratios right now. That helps him be OP. But learning the OPs can actually help you carry because OPs are kind of stupid. They may need some kind of tweaking, not necessarily a huge nerf, but some things are better at carrying than others. Riven forever was the solo queue queen because she had AD ratios that just hurt, and she completely scaled on AD, and her early game was so good, her middle game was so dominant, and she could clear an entire map by 15 minutes. She was ridiculously good at carrying. And that kind of goes with the same thing. If you're learning to carry and you're learning the OPs, then it's easier to carry and it's easier to get you elo. Not necessarily be an all well-rounded player. But it's a little something that extra that can just kind of help you out and gain elo for those of you who may be stuck. Another thing that I'm going to recommend is some people don't really know the builds. Like, even if you just have a generic idea of what an AP mid build is or an ADC build is, like, games go on and every game is completely different. You can build one game or build one way one game and build completely different the other. And that's going to depend on champion mostly, but it's also going to depend on what you're playing against. If you have a fed Kha'Zix, you want to build armor. If you have a fed ADC, you want to build armor. If you have a fed AP mid, you want to build a little bit of MR. Like builds should be dynamic. They really can't be built the same way every time. They need to be catered specifically to the game that you're going to be playing. Like even your starting item can change wildly between who you're landing against. If you're, say, Mordekaiser mid and you're against, I don't know, some AP like Xerath or whatever, you're probably going to start, you're not going to start Ring because you're Mordekaiser. You might start Shield. You might start whatever you want to start. You might start Tome Pot, who knows. But if you're going to go against a Yasuo or a Zed or an AD, Burst, whatever, you're going to look more at going like Cloth 5. It's going to give you a stronger advantage in lane because you're going to be able to resist a lot more of their damage. So knowing your items from start to finish is really, like, knowing all the items and what they do and how they can play into a build is really, it's a really good thing to know. Like, some people just completely forget it. Like, they'll just go on Mobifier or Team Solo Mid or whatever and just build whatever, Chaos said this is the best, or so-and-so said this is the best build. And it's like, yeah, well, there's a reason that there's an area called situational items. They're kind of important, If you're facing an all-AP mid team and you're an ADC, you might want to build Maw the Malmortius, So something to think about there. Know your item builds, especially learn your positions. The biggest part of getting better at League of Legends is seriousness. How much devotion do you want to show whenever you're playing League of Legends? If you want to play and your goal is to get to Diamond, you can get to Diamond. It's not impossible. What you have to do to get to Diamond is you have to play a lot. You have to practice a lot. One of the things that I tell a lot of people if they want to get better is download LoL Replay and watch your replays. Seriously, if you watch your replays and you critique yourself and you go, okay, I did this bad, I need to do this better, you can see a little bit more where you're messing up, and it really helps people a lot to just advance and see what mistakes they're making. Like, I know my biggest mistake is I go freaking ham. I love tower diving. I love trying to make the plays. I always joke around and say get fed or die trying because that's what I love to do. I like to go fucking ham. It's just my play style. I like to go super ham and get ridiculously fed, or not. Sitting under tower and farming is boring to me, man. I fucking hate farming. I really do. But that's what it comes down to, man. Like, if you want to get better, practice your last hitting. Practice all the things that I mentioned, really. You have to play more. You have to practice. You can't, like, going in and playing and then getting mad and like rage quitting at 5 minutes because you fed 3 kills in the first 5 minutes of the game, that's not going to get you better. Going in and going, okay, I got first blooded. What did I do? What did I do wrong? Okay, let me farm. Let me farm. Maybe my jungler will come. Maybe my jungler will help me. Hopefully he will. If he notices that you're not feeding, he's a lot more likely to come help you than if you are feeding. There's a lot to it. Every game's different. I can't give you a guide on this is what you're doing wrong. This is what you need to do to be better. Every League of Legends has millions of matchups, man. It really does. There's 120 something champions out right now. It's ridiculous. The possibilities are stupid. So there's no one way. It's just about getting better overall and getting a lot of practice in, guys. That's pretty much all I had to talk about for League of Legends, and probably my most common question that I get while I'm streaming. Yeah, I think that's about it, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and end this vlog, and we'll talk more about random shit next week, guys. Thanks for watching. Take it easy, Pie Nation. Peace.